Let's dive into Wilson's training so that way we can stay consistent at home. Whenever he's doing behaviors that we want to keep seeing, whether that's following our commands or just showing us calm behaviors, we want to reinforce and reward those behaviors with either praise, petting, or treats. Then, whenever he's doing things that we don't want to see, whether that's jumping up on us or not following our commands, we're going to follow through with the training equipment so we can decrease those unwanted behaviors that we don't want to see. So, let's go over Wilson's training equipment. This is his slip collar. He's going to wear this whenever he's on a leash. The leash attaches to this ring on the side that has this thick piece. And then how we put this on is we're going to make a big loop, put it over his head, and then we're going to put it up as high as possible, so right behind his ears. And then we're going to use this plastic piece to cinch it down so that way it stays nice and snug so it's not falling down his neck. And we want it on the highest part of the neck, so it's the most efficient way to communicate with him. So say he's in the heel position. Heel just means walk next to me on that nice loose leash. Say he's starting to pull ahead. We're just going to say no, and then we pop the leash. So no marks that incorrect behavior. Pop of the leash is the follow through for the no. So no, pop, heel. And then this is how it works with any command. So whatever command we're doing, say he's in the sit and he stands up, we're going to say no, pop of the leash up, and then we remind him what command he is in. Then of course, whenever he's doing what we want to see, we can give him that reward with praise, petting, and treats. Now let's go over his remote collar. How we turn this on and off. This is a bit difficult because of where this is located, but there's a red dot on the remote and a red dot on the collar. We're going to touch these together, and I want you to be able to see that the green lights are going to flash whenever it's on. So these green lights right here, it's going to flash green so that you know it's on and charged and ready to go. On and off button on the back of the remote. Push and hold until the screen lights up. We've been using level 15, and that's what's going to pop up on the screen. This is Wilson's working level, and then we're going to focus on the black S button. So S just stands for stimulation, so it's kind of like an electric muscle stimulator. How we use this, say he's in the heel position and he's starting to pull ahead, we're going to say no, marking the incorrect behavior. Black S button, heel, no, button, heel. And then of course, when he gets back to where we want him, we can give him that verbal praise, petting, and treats to reinforce where we want him to be. So depending on the level of distraction that Wilson has, we may use one of these, we may use both of these, just depends on the situation that we are in. Also with the remote collar, it's going to be the first thing that we put on in the morning, and then it's going to be the last thing that we take off of Wilson, so that way we always have a form of communication with him throughout the day so we can interact with him and tell him what we don't like and what we do like. With the slip collar, we're going to wear this whenever we are on the leash, so mostly out on walks and when we're introducing the commands in the house, and then we can slowly fade away from needing the leash and the slip collar on in the house. So now that we've gone over his equipment, now let's go over his command. So we've already kind of gone over the heel. Heel is that nice loose leash walking. So whenever we're working on this, about 80 to 90% of our walks should be in the heel position. The other 10 to 20%, we can use that release word free. Free is that command that we use whenever we're done with all of the commands and he can go do his own business. This is his time to go enjoy the walk and do his own thing. Now we have sit. Sit means stay as implied until he's given that release word free. This is really good for those doormen, so he can't just bolt through doors. So whether it's on the inside or the outside, we're going to have Wilson sit. As we're opening the door, we can remind him sit because opening the door is a big distraction. And then we have two options. We can heel through the door with him or just let him go through the door on his own and give him that release word free. If he stays, great. If not, we're going to follow through with the training equipment until he gets it right. So that way we can set those same boundaries at home that we have here at the facility. And so he sits on the first time that we ask and not the seventh time that we're asking. Now we have down. Down also means stay as implied until he's given that release word free. So with down, we can do a little distraction, whatever we're doing, but we're always going to go back to Wilson and release him from where he is. So he never gets rewarded for coming to us, and he gets rewarded for staying in that down stay. Also, when we reward, we're going to reward low to the ground, so he knows that that positive zone is going to be low to the ground and he doesn't try to get up for those treats. Now we have places that boundaries stay. This is going to be really good for whenever we have company coming over. So place, it's a boundary stay ideally on an elevated bed. So when we're practicing this and we have company coming over, we can put him on place so he can still experience everything that is going on, but he's on a boundary stay so he can't go jump on people or be underneath people's feet whenever we have them coming in. So when we're practicing this, we're also not going to release from a distance because then he'll get rewarded for coming to us and not staying in that boundary stay. So whenever we do whatever distraction, we have guests coming over, we're going to go back to the place bed and release him from where he is so he gets rewarded for staying on that boundary and not coming to us. And then also When we reward this, we're going to reward on the boundary so he knows that positive zone is the place bed itself. When you first start out, I would suggest having the leash on him so that way if he does get off, we have a way to guide him back to the place bed. And then once he has a good understanding of what place is, we can fade away from needing the leash. Now we have come when called. With this one, we like to give him that release word free and let him go get distracted and do his own thing, because ideally when we needed him to come back to us, it's whenever he's going to be in that distracted state of mind doing his own thing. Also, we're going to have him on a 30 to 50 foot leash, so if he does ignore our command, we have a way to reel him back into us and get his attention back to us. So when we're practicing this, we'll give him that release word free, let him get distracted, do his own thing. When we call him to us, we're going to say it in a nice, loud, firm tone. We're going to call him as he's coming to us. We're going to praise him. We're going to make it a lot of fun to come into our space. Once he gets into our space, we're going to have him sit, and then we can give him the reward. Say we call him and he decides to ignore it. We're going to say no, and then we're going to call him again. Just like in the beginning when I was explaining how to use his equipment, we're going to follow through with his equipment, and then we're going to call him again, and we're still going to praise him as he's coming to us, because coming into our space is always going to be a positive. And then we can give him the reward once he gets back into our space. Now we have leave it. Leave it just means don't grab that. So first start out with dog safe foods, drop it on the ground, say leave it. If he does, great. If not, we're going to put the leash on him and stuff and guide him around into a different scenario so we can show him that when we say leave it, that means just don't grab it off of the floor. Then if you never want him to have things off the floor, we can just never give him access to, but if you're okay with it, you can tell him free and give it just like I do in the videos. But if you don't, just don't allow him to get anything off of the floors. So that is all of Wilson's commands and equipment. So we're going to reinforce and reward those behaviors that we want to keep seeing, those calm, nice behaviors and following our commands. And then with those behaviors that we don't want to see, like jumping up on us or just doing things that we don't want to see, we're going to follow through with our training equipment so we can hopefully decrease those behaviors. So we're going to have fun and stay consistent, and then we're going to watch Wilson do his commands.
Heel.
Wilson, come. That's a good boy. Good job. Sit. 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 I got you. Sit.
Not very good with princesses. Is it Snow White? Sit. Sit. Oh, sit. Or down, that's fine. Down. Down. Good. Down. Down. Heel.
Down. Good boy. Good. Down. 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 Good. Down. Down. Good. Down. Good boy. Good. Down. Down. Free. That's a good boy. Good job.
Let's go over the other features of the remote. Now that we've already gone over how to turn it on, let's go over how to turn it off. It's going to be the same concept as turning it on. Those red dots, we're just going to touch them together. Once that red light flashes where the green light is, that means that the collar is off and we're good to go. On and off button on the back of the remote, we're going to push and hold until the screen goes blank. This is how we know that the remote is off. So yes, we do have to turn them off separately and turn them on separately so he can't accidentally turn it off while it is on him. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on, and we're going to go over the other buttons on the remote. So we've already gone over this black S button, so now let's go over the red S button. So whatever number is on the screen, this red S button is going to boost it 20 levels. This is going to be for emergency cases only whenever Wilson is doing something dangerous that is going to cause him harm, whether that's running into the street or chasing after cars. We have a way to communicate with him whenever he's in that high adrenaline state of mind. So level 15 reaches about here when there's not much going on, but whenever he's chasing a car, he is up here, he's really high in that adrenaline. So we want a way to communicate with him whenever he's doing something dangerous. So that is what that red S button for. That is going to be for emergency cases only. This T button is a vibrate feature. We like to use this to make sure that the collar is on. I know you can't hear it now, but when we press this, it vibrates the collar so that we know it's on and ready to go. Now on the back, we have an M/C button. This just stands for momentary or continuous. At the beginning of his training, we started out at a very low level on continuous. And then whenever he gets further into his training, we go over to momentary at a little bit of a higher level, and he should stay on momentary the rest of his training, which is just going to be the M that you see on the screen. Now on the on and off button also works as a flashlight feature. So if we press it once, it's going to be a flashing light. Press it twice, it's a solid light. Press it that third time, it's going to turn it off. Then say we notice that level 15 isn't working for him, whether he's having too much of a reaction or he's not responding to it at all. We can change this level just by pressing down on the dial until the 1D starts flashing. And then we can rotate it to whatever number works for Wilson at the time. Level 15 has been working fine, so to lock that into place, we're going to change it back to 15. Push down on the dial again until it locks it in. That 1D should stop flashing. So that way when we put this in our pocket, we can't accidentally change it or anything whenever we put it in our pocket. So it locks that number into place so we don't have to worry about it. Both the collar and the remote are rechargeable. Charging port on the remote is right underneath the on and off button. Charging port on the collar is right underneath of the prongs. These do stay charged for about 2 days if he wears them for about 12 to 14-hour days. So if you charge it every other day, you should be good to go. I know Wilson doesn't have too long of hair. It does come with longer prongs. If you notice that it's not making a good connection, you can change him over. He has shorter hair, so we shouldn't need these, but they are in there if you need them. Comes with a dual charger, so you can charge both the remote and the collar at the same time. And then at the bottom of the box, there is a manual. If you have any other questions about any of the other features of the remote, the vibrate feature can also be a tone feature if you would like to do that and change it over. It all goes over this in the manual if that's something that you want to change it over to. Both the collar and the remote are waterproof, so it's no big deal if they get wet, but if they do get wet, he's going to stay wet for an extended period of time. I would rotate his collar so it's not irritating or rubbing one part of his neck too much and causing a rash or anything like that. But that is all of the other features of the remote, so we're going to have fun and stay consistent, and that's everything.